All right, today is our final day for our Reflex video series and chat. So this one I wanted to talk, just summarize everything we talked about and then answer the biggest question I always get and have gotten throughout this series as well. So big kind of summary is that primitive reflexes are automatic movements that work on an arc where sensory input stimulates the reflex, the brain processes the input, then motor response is the movement, the reflex movement that we are familiar with. So reflexes rely on the sensory system. They help to integrate the sensory system together. Reflexes overlap during development. Reflexes are the foundation of the nervous system that help to develop the lower levels of the brain or our survival brain, so that then the higher levels can eventually take over and have top-down control. Primitive reflexes help to develop into postural reflexes that stick with us forever. Primitive reflexes are always there forever. They're just in our lower level brain, and they can come back out in traumatic cases such as brain injury or stroke, sometimes even now chronic stress and other stressors on our body, such as environmental stressors, etc. So when they are not completely retained in childhood or completely integrated in childhood, it basically leaves gaps in a child's development. So their higher level skills might start to develop, but they're going to have some disconnections in how they're learning. They're going to have some sensory issues, whether that's hyper or hypo, on tactile or sound or movement, different things. Every kid's symptoms will look a little bit different. Or they might have behavior problems because they're having issues with emotional regulation because their survival brain is still in this fight or flight mode. The biggest questions that I get is, which reflexes should I work for autism, ADHD, dyspraxia, dysgraphia, for this syndrome, this specific syndrome, or for this genetic disorder, or for whatever reflex or whatever diagnosis the child has, for bedwetting. I talked about this before. So we all go through the same primitive reflexes in infancy that helps to develop our brain. And I know we all want individualized care. We want to make sure we're doing the exact right thing, but these reflexes, these core primitive reflexes that we work, overlap one another and help one another and make the biggest impact on a child's learning, sensory, and behavioral issues and core and postural stability. So these are the biggest, these 8 that we work in the Malo method are the kind of key ones that I always will work with kids. Now, as we go along, I'm going to continue to test them and be objective about whether the child needs this reflex integrated anymore. And as soon as they don't, then great, we don't need to work that one anymore. But really, by number 1, testing, number 2, looking at symptoms, and then number 3, knowing that you can, if you don't know, because you're not a therapist, but you might work with a therapist, or maybe you're reading about the symptoms. Reflex work doesn't hurt the body. It's just little exercises, and they actually tap into the nervous system. So sometimes they can even help calm someone that's stressed out, even if their reflexes are integrated. So that's one of my favorite things about reflex integration, is it doesn't hurt to do specific exercises. So you might as well do the 8 together and then go from there. Now, each child's sensory systems might look different, and one child might need more vestibular work, one might need more visual work, one might need more balance and coordination work. That is a little bit more dependent on how the child is doing. But I want to give just kind of another brief overview of why I love and have chosen and am certified in the Malo method, because my own child who has autism had low muscle tone, delayed development in all areas, was later diagnosed with autism. I started doing different types of reflex work and found the Malo method to be the most comprehensive. It looks at the entire brain development and not just reflexes. The easiest to understand and the easiest to implement with my child. There's other programs out there, other certifications. I have taken several of the classes, and I just did not find the same results, and I did not find the ease of doing it. And also just teaching parents how to do these movements was so much easier with Malo that I do recommend that program for all of these kiddos. So when we do this program where we're working the reflexes, we're doing core stability, we're balancing the brain hemispheres, we're just working brain development. We're not working specific symptoms, we're not working specific diagnoses, we're working on developing the brain and giving it the most optimal opportunity to create new connections, to improve a child's learning and their sensory and behaviors and all of those things that we're concerned about with our child. So basically, as you start to work these reflexes and doing this whole brain development program, you should see improved development in whatever areas they had gaps in. It's going to start at the bottom, it's going to work its way up, and you're going to see improvements over time. Some come quickly, some take a little bit longer. The brain is an amazing organ and the most amazing organ, and you can't guess what's going to happen with the brain. So as we work this whole brain development program, we're going to see different amazing improvements in your kiddo. So if you want to join, my next Jumpstart is happening. Registration is closing pretty soon, May 5th, and it is open right now. This is where we're doing 90 days of primitive reflex integration, core and postural stability, and some basic sensory inputs. I'm going to guide it every other week. We're going to be on Zoom sharing with you how we're going to move along in the program. I hope you'll check it out. Let me know if you have any questions and DM me with any of those. Thanks.